Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm making this video in reference to a Twitter conversation I'm having with an old friend of mine who I still consider a good friend. I hope he still does too. We went to yeshiva together. He asked me not to use his name, so I'm not going to do that. But a prominent rabbi on Twitter, a very fine person who I have a lot of respect for, even if I disagree with a lot of his ideas. And the discussion is about there's a phenomenon that we see, particularly in heavily ultra-Orthodox. I'll start from the beginning. I'm very interested to engage Ben Shapiro in. It would be wonderful if Rabbi, what's his name, Yaakov Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro would sit down and have a conversation, because they're two highly intelligent individuals. I guess they must be related. So, I mean, Shapiro as a name is not necessarily related, but it's interesting. But if they would sit down and discuss the issues of Zionism, because I saw a video where Ben Shapiro, who I agree with on a lot of issues, and when it comes to Zionism, I think he's being intellectually dishonest with what he says. His tagline is that the facts don't care about your feelings. But Zionism is a heavily emotional issue for a lot of Jewish people. I know when I was more aligned with Zionism, it was widely an emotional issue as opposed to an intellectual issue. And just common sense would go to say, if we see we made this country and 20,000 Jews have been killed since 1948, well, it's a failure, and we should give up with this idea of a Jewish state. Doesn't mean those people necessarily have to leave. Maybe they should make it a non-sectarian state like America, a more Jeffersonian ideal, religious freedom, as opposed to having an identity that's so closely related with a religion, even though a lot of people want to redefine the definition of Judaism away from being a religion, which it is, to an ethnicity, which it isn't. And as Ben Shapiro pointed out in this video that I was commenting on, that there are many different Jewish ethnicities. The problem with Zionism is that they accept, and his point was that Jewish nationalism would indicate that it doesn't matter what race you are, as long as you agree with the basic ideas of the religion, the ethics and so forth of the religion. The problem with Zionism is that the state was, it's not the main problem, it's a secondary problem with Zionism, is that the people who founded the state, and so many people who run the state, do not share the values of Judaism. And they seek to redefine Judaism in a racial way, as opposed to a religious way. We see, including the religious authorities in Israel, that put every barrier against conversion to Judaism and try to make it as difficult as possible. And a lot of people say, oh, it's the Haredim, and it's not. It's the Rabbanut is a modern Orthodox body, right-wing modern Orthodox, but they don't accept the Haredi conversions that are not done with the approval of the chief rabbinate. So it's not a Haredi issue. But we'll put that aside. So I would like to see if Ben Shapiro had ever. I understand he grew up in a Zionist home. He probably never even thought of these things. He probably just assumes, oh, that's just Satmar, that's just Torah Karta, whatever, and never took the time to stop and think, what is this that I'm investing so much into? The ideals that he's talking about are not the facts on the ground. The ideals that he's talking about are not what Israel is. Israel, you saw that, in fact, you want to talk about the different ethnicities, look at what the Israelis did to the Yemenites. Right now we just lost not too long ago, the chief rabbi from the Yemenite community in Bnei Brak and his own, I think, brother or sister disappeared when he was a baby, in the Yaldei Teiman scandal that we spoke about yesterday. So I made a comment that it's just interesting that Jews who, what I meant was, I mean, Twitter, you can't write everything, who are more on the religious right tend to be either non-Zionist or anti-Zionist, and the Jews who tend to be more religiously liberal tend to support the idea of a Jewish state. They have different ideas what it means. Obviously, the modern Orthodox will have a more right-wing vision of what a Jewish state means, that it should ideally perhaps be a religious state. Again, depends on the types of modern Orthodoxy. It's obviously there's a difference between Rabbi Kahana's vision, Zecher Tzedek Livracha, even though I disagree with him, I could still say as Gevein Dach an Ehrlich Yid, and he was Meiser Nefesh for Yiddishkeit. He was wrong, but he meant well. So between his types of visions of things and let's say Rabbi Kook's ideas were different, and Rabbi Soloveitchik, Zecher Tzedek Livracha, his ideas were different, and all different, and the various views within the religious Zionist movement. It's not monolithic, but the commonality between them, though, is that the Machmirim, the ones who tend to be the real Haredim, will generally tend to not be in the Zionist camp. And the Mekilim, well, fine, there is room to be Mekel on certain things, and there's nothing authentically wrong with it. I'm not, when I say, the Heter of the Month Club, kind of jokingly, I don't mean that there's really anything wrong with finding a Heter of the Month. We do, these are still part of Klal Yisrael. A Yid who finds a Heter from an Erlich Harav, even to do things that most of Klal Yisrael don't do, which would include even things like using electricity or riding in a car that's driven by someone who's not Jewish in a Shasat Dechak and things like that, which may ikar adin, or not covering their hair, or women wearing pants and things like this, even men not wearing yarmulkes. That doesn't exclude you from Klal Yisrael. Because these are not issues that are me'ikar adin, that you have to do these things. But a voila erlich Yid, he does cover his head. A voila Yiddish fro does cover her hair. Does wear a skirt. It's not. It's not to say that you're not bikaris or you're not frum if you don't do these things. That you're not shemeter mitzvahs. You could technically me'ikar adin. You could be shemeter mitzvahs and do a lot of things that most Orthodox Jews don't do bisman hazeh. And 100 years ago, the face of Orthodoxy was much different than it is today, including meaning in halachic, observance and so forth. So then my friend was confused with what I said, that he said, no, look, the Haredim in America tend to vote Democrat, and the modern Orthodox tend to vote Republican. And what I pointed out is generally in national elections, the Haredim will vote Republican. And in local elections, many will vote Democrat, although that tide is changing, thank God. But then I tried to explain why that is. Meaning, why would communities like Kiryas Joel and Williamsburg vote, let's say, 60-40 in favor of President Trump, despite some of the Askonim who send out letters saying that they should vote for Hillary Clinton, and yet most of the people will. And then when it comes to a governor, although maybe this will change this time, who knows? But they'll vote, maybe 90-10 for Cuomo. And the main reason, it's not because they agree with Cuomo. Someone asked Biron Teitelbaum, I'm not going to translate this into English. A tumene Url, as I schmutzige Url. And his answer is, Jede Url is schmutzig. I'm not going to translate. You can figure out. Kol ha'orelim heim muluchlachim heim tameim. I don't agree with that idea. I strongly disagree with what he said there. That's why I'm not translating it. If I agreed with it, I wouldn't have a problem translating it. And so you see, I'm not just a blind chassid. A Rebbe zok this and this. No, I can have respect. As he's a big Talmid Chacham. When I see him, I kiss his hand. I show him respect. But no, he's wrong here. There is but the fact of the matter is, even I myself, I would prefer to vote for the Libertarian candidate for governor, but I'm going to vote for the Republican candidate because he has more of a chance of winning, and because it's so important to get rid of Cuomo, in my view. But so why does a community like Curious Joel, why would they vote for Cuomo? First of all, he's giving them things that they want, but more than that, first of all, we are a small minority. We don't have the power to change electorate. New York City is going to vote in Cuomo if he wins. Although that might change. It's possible that he could lose. Especially now with the current political climate. And maybe a lot of people who are supporting Nixon are just not going to vote, and so forth. So the fact of the matter is, we don't have really a secret ballot, because you see the whole Curious Joel is voting for one candidate, the whole Williamsburg's voting for one candidate, and if he does win, which we hope he doesn't, he is going to take it out on these communities that voted against him. And so, and I'm not saying that as a hysterical thing. And he said, and so my friend Rabbi said, look, we can, this is how we change it, by voting. Unfortunately, New York City is so powerful, although again, this might change, but that's what it is. We could hope that Naomi Levy wins against Jerry Nadler. Halavai. It would be wonderful. It's not going to happen, probably, although it could. We can only daven and go out and vote, and maybe we could change it. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe.